Hey guys, that's Mr. Culture Detective here, investigating your favorite animes, and today I'm going to be doing an anime review on an anime that I've been waiting for 5 freaking years to see. And that anime is Uzumaki. Yes, I'm talking about this anime now. So Uzumaki is a new anime. It is adapted off of a legendary manga by the one and only Junji Ito, Itojinji, right here. I have the manga, Chinese version. And it is adapted into an anime in partnership with Adult Swim, and the animation studios are Fugaku for episodes 1 and 4, and Akatsuki for episodes 2 and 3. Now, this is an anime I've been dying to watch since 5 years ago. Back in 2019, when I was still a measly 17-year-old boy, I found out that they're adapting Uzumaki. And by then, I was already a big fan of Junji Ito. And I was already reading some of his stuff, Tomie, online. And when Adult Swim announced that they're adapting Uzumaki into an anime, I was like, holy shit. What if it sucks? Because here's the thing. Junji Ito, again, if you don't know who Junji Ito is, he is one of the most legendary and one of the most influential, if not the most influential horror manga artist in Japan, and perhaps of all times. But throughout history, ever since the freaking 1990s, people have been trying to adapt his work. There are several Tomie films. There's the live-action Gyo film. Hey, there's an Uzumaki live-action film. And tons of other animes, Junji Ito collection, etc., etc. And none of them are good. All of them are missing something. They're either too dramatic for its own good, they either don't understand how Junji Ito's horror works, or they're just terribly animated, weird use of 3D and CGI. And there is an amazing video essay by Super Eyepatch Wolf, who talks about Junji Ito in one video and talks about his adaptations in another video. I mean, he is the reason why I found out about Junji Ito in the first place. Now, anyways, in 2019, it is announced that Uzumaki is going to be made into an anime, and the teaser looks so interesting. First of all, it's in black and white. Second of all, the animation genuinely looks good. I was like, holy shit, are we getting the first good Junji Ito adaptation ever? So after that, I waited and waited and waited. The pandemic happened, and people were like, okay, sure, the pandemic happened and the release is delayed. Maybe it'll come out in 2022. 2022 happened, Uzumaki is not out. 2023 happened, no news. And finally, half a year ago, it is announced that Uzumaki is getting released by the end of September. And so it's finally happening. Now, it is important to note a couple of very amazing things. Uzumaki, or at least when it is marketed, the director is Nagahama Hiroshi, who is the director behind Mushishi, and even more importantly, Flowers of Evil, or Aku no Hana. This anime is a very interesting adaptation of an art house manga by Oshimi Shuzo, and Flowers of Evil is a rotoscoped anime. It is an anime that uses rotoscope animation instead of hand-drawn or computer-generated animation, which gives this anime a really strange and uncanny look. A lot of people are turned off by the weird rotoscope animation of Flowers of Evil, even though I haven't seen the anime. From the trailer, it looked amazing. It looked interesting. And so I had huge expectations going into Uzumaki. And after seeing a clip from episode 1, I can safely say that episode 1 is completely rotoscoped, which again gives all these characters a strange, realistic, yet uncanny movement, which is perfect for Uzumaki. More on that later. Next thing I want to point out is that the composer for this anime is Colin Stetson, who is a minimalist saxophonist musical artist, musician. He composed music for the horror film Hereditary and The Menu as well, and he has released a few albums that I really loved. So the team looks amazing, the animation looks amazing, the trailer looks amazing. What went wrong? So Uzumaki finally came out, episode 1 happened, and the entire internet loved it. And then episode 2 happened, and the internet hated it. So let's talk about episode 1 first. In fact, throughout all 4 episodes, the entire anime is in black and white, which is such a great decision because I can't imagine Junji Ito in color. And it's kind of ironic because one of my passion projects is to adapt Junji Ito's Tomie into a short film, and I'm thinking of doing it in color. But that would be an artistic reinterpretation of his work. But black and white is good for Junji Ito because it's very much about light and dark. It's about shadows, and with color, it's just not that scary. It just feels like it's trying too hard to be realistic, which is not right. Junji Ito's work has never been realistic. If anything, it is a strange meld between reality but also everything else. What is that noise? Okay, Halloween is happening. I know. Now, episode 1 happened and it looked amazing. And beautiful rotoscope animation, very detailed lines, very beautiful. But I'm going to be honest here, even though episode 1 looked good, it's not that good. Now here is my biggest gripe with this anime. Not only did the animation quality drop drastically on episodes 2, 3, and 4, but the pacing is completely off the rails. It's too fast. And I don't get it when people complain whenever an anime is too slow paced, because anime is always too fast for me. And Uzumaki is even faster than too fast. The thing is, it tries to adapt too much. And episode 1 is already kind of good because it starts off with the first chapter of the manga, which I have here in my hands, which is, of course, the Spiral Obsession. And then it continues to... oh my god. It continues to the second chapter where Shuichi's mom goes insane. And then we have the legendary Scar chapter, which is legendary. Everyone knows Uzumaki for this panel. This is the most iconic panel in the entire manga. And it also tries to do the snail chapter, which is way later. This is Jack in the Box. This is snail was before that, I believe. Where is snail? Snail is way later. So, yeah, honestly, snail is way later in the manga. So it's trying to do 4 chapters at once. And so when I found out that Uzumaki is going to be 4 episodes long, I was like, okay, so is there like a second core? Is there a season 2? No. They adapted this entire book in 4 episodes. Why would you do that? Who thought this would be a good idea? It's not a good idea. What are you thinking? So episode 1 is already fine. And then we have episode 2, which simultaneously adapts Spiral Obsession Part 2, Hair, Twisted Souls, Snail, Jack in the Box, and Lighthouse. 6 chapters. 6 chapters in 26 minutes. So that's like about 4.5 minutes per chapter. That is stupid. So episode 3 adapts Mosquito, Spiral Obsession Part 2 again, Ceramic, Umbilical Cord, Typhoon, and Longhouse. And then episode 4 is basically the rest of the chapters. Now, because of cramming so many chapters in one episode, it's too fast. Whenever there's something scary or disturbing, it doesn't linger. It's important for a scare to linger so that the audience have time to digest it, process it, be scared, so that we are even more scared for the next scary moment. That's usually how horror works. If you bombard the audience with scary shit, it actually becomes not so scary. Now, the other issue is that the chapters are rearranged. The chapters are rearranged and the order is different. So again, we have the ceramic chapter, I believe it is chapter 4, where Kirie's dad thought that, ooh, I can make spirals in my ceramics and my pottery. That is chapter 4. But in the anime, that didn't happen until episode 3, which is like middle, right? This is the mosquito chapter. Mosquito and the ceramic happened. And mosquito was before the ceramic in the anime, but in the manga, ceramic was way before. Now that is a bad idea, because what I love about this manga is that the scariness, the level of destruction that the curse of the spiral has in the town gets exponentially worse. And ceramic feels way lighter than mosquito, which is basically the spiral turning a bunch of pregnant women into blood-sucking, insane women to feed their babies, which is way crazier than making creepy ceramics. Now, obviously, the first 2 chapters are incredibly gruesome, and that's great. They are the 1-2 punch of the beginning of Uzumaki, which features Shuichi's both mom and dad. By the way, spoiler alert, I'm sorry. Shuichi's parents die, respectively, on chapters 1 and 2, and that is an insane way to open off a manga. But chapters 3, 4, 5, 6, they're relatively tame, but it gets worse and worse. The more you read the manga, the crazier it gets, the more fucked up it gets, and by the end of the manga, it basically turns into full-blown cosmic horror. But because the order of the chapters are rearranged in the anime, it doesn't have the same exponential horror that I love from the manga. Now, there are a couple of other tiny gripes, like Shuichi's mom didn't die until episode 3, which is again too late. The Long House, which happens after the typhoon, right here. The Long House is supposed to have a curse, where if you live in the Long House, you start growing these calluses with spirals on them, and it is a cursed house. The anime didn't show that, and I kind of understand why. If this Long House is cursed, then why are more people living in it later in the manga? But this chapter actually provides a reason why the curse is lifted at the end of the chapter. Now, I want to say another thing, and that is the transition between Twisted Souls to Lighthouse is too fast. So Twisted Souls is already one of the weaker chapters in the manga, in my opinion, where it's like Romeo and Juliet, except Romeo and Juliet sort of bend their bodies, twist together, and turn into a sea monster. That immediately jumps over to several chapters later with the Lighthouse, which is right here. So literally, we went from Twisted Souls to Lighthouse. And the transition in the anime literally happened back to back, which is, again, why didn't it linger longer? Now, there are other issues I have with this anime. First of all, the sound design is not good enough. Sound design is essential to horror. And there are so many scenes where, yeah, gross body distortions, you hear bones, you hear flesh, there's people screaming, and there's the very haunting score from Colin Stetson, which is still good, but it's not there yet. The ambient hums, the screams, it needs to be more than that. Another thing is the casting. It's a weird little gripe, I know, but the voice actor who plays Shuichi is Miki Shinichiro. He is a great voice actor, don't get me wrong, but his voice doesn't match Shuichi at all. If you don't know this, he also voices Kaiki Deishu in the Monogatari series, and he does that brilliantly. But he basically does a similar voice for Shuichi, this nasal, deep-pitched voice that just does not match Shuichi's voice at all. Whenever I hear him talk, he just sounds like freaking Kaiki Deishu. Now, of course, we have the animation. So this is the elephant in the room here. The animation quality completely dropped from episode 1 to episode 2 because the anime is outsourced to some random hentai production company called Akatsuki. Now, not only is some of the scenes straight up hilarious, the running on the beach and the walking up the stairs in the lighthouse, actually hilarious. So freaking bad, it's honestly funny. So, upon further research, apparently the production of Uzumaki pretty much changes completely from episode to episode because they literally change studios from episode to episode. Episode 1 is actually not whatever I said it is. It's apparently originally from Studio Drive, but it is uncredited. And then episodes 2 and 3 are Akatsuki and Fugaku at the same time. And then episode 4 is another studio supported by Studio Masket. But whatever the case may be, apparently episodes 2, 3, and 4 are essentially outsourced to a bajillion other random studios with anywhere between 10 to 25. Actually, episode 2 has, I believe, 25 animation directors. Episode 3 has 19. Episode 4 has 10 animation directors. And they're all separated across, I think, about 18 different animation studios, which means that just like how Tomie is chopped up, whoever's in charge of Uzumaki, whether it is Adult Swim or Warner Brothers is involved for some freaking reason, chopped up Uzumaki and gave these animation studios a tiny piece of like a scene or something and tell them to just animate it as fast as possible. This is why the animation quality of each scene and the pacing of each scene as well literally changes from scene to scene. And also there are multiple factors at play. Maybe it's partially Adult Swim's fault, maybe it's Warner Brothers' involvement that's screwing it up, maybe it's production IG. There's also this other studio called William Street. It's a mess. It's a whole rabbit hole in and of itself. And the YouTuber Mother's Basement actually has a pretty great video where he tries to investigate who is at fault for fucking up Uzumaki. But either way, it seems like the production of Uzumaki is even more interesting than the story itself. And that's another video for another time, I guess. But I can see that the animation quality sort of got a little better on episode 3. And then rumors came saying that episode 4 is going to be as well animated as episode 1. That's not true. There is still a little bit of rotoscope, but episode 4 is more or less similar to episodes 2 and 3. Now, bad animation is a huge downfall for the anime, for sure. But honestly, I think there are so many other reasons why it just didn't work out. However, I do want to say that episode 4 is a good comeback from episodes 2 and 3. And not necessarily because the animation is better or the anime is making it better, but simply because the story itself is better. At the end of Uzumaki, again, it basically turns into full-blown cosmic horror where because of the curse, the entire town becomes a very windy place. And first of all, that's a really cool concept, that the wind becomes a huge sort of villain in the town. But also the fact that people are stratified. There's the butterfly gang, there's a dragonfly gang, there's the snail people. And the scary thing about Uzumaki isn't even the curse of the spiral, but it's the people who are affected by the curse. Jealousy, wanting attention, the bullies, women who love their embryos too much, I guess. That's what makes it so good, and you can really see in the last episode of Uzumaki and the last few chapters. Another good thing about episode 4 is that it is in chronological order. So it actually makes sense and it feels way smoother. I also love that it basically becomes an apocalyptic survival game by the end, where the town is destroyed and everyone's gone insane, and it is basically a survival game. And the ending of the manga is amazing. I love that there's even a little like extra chapter. This chapter is not adapted into an anime, but there is an extra chapter called Galaxy that you should definitely check out. But the ending of Uzumaki itself is a very haunting ending that is tragic, but it is very haunting. It sticks to you in your mind, and it could have been better in the anime, both in terms of sound design, animation, but also just the pacing. If it lingers longer, if we see Shuichi and Kirie trying their best to survive and survive and survive, but every single one of their loved ones, Kirie's dad, Kirie's mom, Kirie's brother, and the reporter, Chie, slowly die or disappear one by one, and then we see them at the very end. It's actually a beautiful moment, but the anime just doesn't really reach that level. So yeah, unfortunately, Uzumaki is a disappointing anime. It could have been good, and there are some very good elements in it. It just fails on so many fronts, and that's disappointing because I do really want to see a good Junji Ito adaptation for once. Maybe that's impossible, but who knows? I may give it a try. But yeah, Uzumaki anime, such an unfortunate anime, such an unfortunate production. I am giving Uzumaki a strong 6 out of 10. So have you watched Uzumaki? Comments below, let me know. Subscribe if you want more, and thanks for watching.